It's okay, mister. You look like you needed to break something today. Grant Hayes froze halfway out of his Mercedes, his hands still on the door. The wreckage of the lemonade stand lay scattered across the sidewalk, splintered wood, shattered plastic cups, a hand-painted sign face down in a puddle of sticky yellow liquid. His driver had swerved to avoid a pothole, and the side mirror had clipped the small table, sending everything flying. Grant stared at the child standing in front of him. Not because she wasn't crying, because she was smiling at him like she understood something he didn't. The girl couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 years old. Her braids were decorated with colorful beads that clicked softly when she moved her head. She wore a yellow sundress 3 sizes too big, the hem dusty and frayed. Her sneakers had holes in the toes, but her eyes were knowing, too old for a child, like she'd already lived a lifetime he couldn't imagine. Grant's throat tightened. He'd been prepared for screaming, for tears, for an angry parent rushing out to threaten a lawsuit. Not this. Sky, baby, what happened? A woman burst through the door of the small house behind them, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, flour dusting her worn jeans. She took in the scene, the luxury car, the destroyed stand, her daughter standing calmly in the middle of it all. Grant watched the woman's face shift from panic to something harder. She stepped between him and the child, one hand reaching back protectively. "I'm so sorry," Grant said, finding his voice. "My driver, there was a pothole. I'll pay for everything. Please let me. We're fine." The woman's voice was firm. "Come on, Sky, let's go inside." But the little girl didn't move. She tilted her head, studying Grant's face with those ancient eyes. "Why are you so sad?" Sky asked softly. Grant's chest ached. He couldn't remember the last time someone had looked at him and seen past the expensive suit, the billion-dollar company, the practiced smile he wore to board meetings. Before we dive into this story, tell us where in the world you're watching from in the comments below. We love hearing from our community across the globe. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss these incredible true stories. Quick word of prayer for everyone listening today. Heavenly Father, we ask for your breakthrough in the lives of everyone here. Bring healing where there is pain, favor where there are closed doors, and hope where there is darkness. Amen. 3 years ago, Grant Hayes lost everything that mattered. The accident happened on a Tuesday. Emma had been driving home from her sister's house, singing along to the radio probably the way she always did. The semi-truck driver fell asleep at the wheel. She died instantly, the doctors said. Like that was supposed to make it hurt less. Grant had built Hayes Technologies from nothing, a startup in his garage that became a global empire worth $4 billion. He'd revolutionized cloud computing, employed 12,000 people across 6 continents, and been named one of Forbes' most influential entrepreneurs 3 years running. But none of it could bring Emma back. After the funeral, Grant stopped going home. The penthouse overlooking Elliott Bay felt like a mausoleum. He slept in his office instead, worked 20-hour days, turned himself into a machine. His board loved it at first, profits soared. Then they started worrying. His assistant, Lisa Chen, had been with him for 8 years, and even she couldn't break through the walls he'd built. "You need to take a day off," she'd said just that morning. "Go somewhere, anywhere." Instead, he'd spent 6 hours in a hostile board meeting, defending his latest acquisition against shareholders who thought he was becoming reckless. Then his lawyer called about the patent lawsuit. Then the tech blog published a hit piece questioning his leadership. By 3 p.m., Grant had told his driver to just drive anywhere, he didn't care. And now he stood in front of a destroyed lemonade stand, being asked by a child why he was sad. "I'm not sad," Grant said automatically. Sky smiled. "My mama says that too, but her eyes do the same thing yours do." The woman, Sky's mother, closed her eyes briefly. "Sky, honey, Mr. Grant," he said quietly. "Grant Hayes." Recognition flickered across the woman's face. Of course she knew who he was. Everyone in Seattle knew his face, his company, his tragedy. The news had covered Emma's death for weeks. "Mr. Hayes doesn't need you reading his mind right now," the mother continued. "Let's let him." "How much for the stand?" Grant interrupted. "Excuse me, the lemonade stand. How much did it cost to build? The supplies, the lemons, the cups, everything." Grant pulled out his phone. "I'll transfer whatever you need right now." The woman's jaw tightened. "That's not necessary. I destroyed your daughter's business. It's absolutely necessary." It was an accident that I'm responsible for. They stared at each other. Grant noticed things he'd missed in the initial chaos, the exhaustion carved into her face, the way her clothes hung loose like she'd recently lost weight, the protective stance that spoke of someone used to fighting battles alone. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. Nina Morrison." "Nina, please let me make this right." Sky tugged on her mother's hand. "Mama, it's okay. I can build another one." Nina's expression softened when she looked down at her daughter. "Baby, that took us 2 weeks, but we had fun building it, remember? We can have fun again." Sky turned those knowing eyes back to Grant. "Do you ever have fun, mister?" Grant's throat closed completely. He couldn't answer. That night, back in his office, Grant couldn't focus on the acquisition reports spread across his desk. He kept seeing Sky's face, hearing her question echo in his mind. When was the last time he'd had fun? When was the last time he'd felt anything except the dull ache of going through motions? His phone buzzed. "Lisa, the Peterson deal is falling apart," she said without preamble. "They want another meeting tomorrow at 8. "Fine." Grant rubbed his eyes. "Did you find the address I asked about? The Morrison house?" "Yes." "Grant, what's this about?" "Just send it to me. You know I did some research." Nina Morrison, 32, works as a night custodian at Pacific Medical Center and does weekend shifts at a diner on Pike Street. She has a daughter, Sky, age 8. No husband on record, but Lisa paused. "There's a restraining order against a Derek Morrison. Expired last month." Grant's blood went cold. "Who is he?" "Ex-husband. Did 3 years in Monroe for aggravated assault. Got out 6 months ago." Lisa's voice dropped. "Grant, what are you getting involved in?" "I destroyed a little girl's lemonade stand. I'm making it right. By running a background check." Something inside him shifted. "By making sure they're safe." He hung up before Lisa could argue. The next morning, Grant showed up at the Morrison house at 7 a.m. He'd barely slept, but he'd made calls, lots of calls. The kind that made things happen. Nina answered the door in scrubs, clearly just home from her night shift. Her eyes widened. "Mr. Hayes." "Grant, please." He gestured to the truck parked at the curb. "I brought some things for Sky's stand." Nina stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind her. "I told you that wasn't necessary." "I know what you told me." Grant met her eyes. "But I don't do anything halfway. If I break something, I fix it properly." The truck driver and his assistant started unloading. A custom-built wooden stand with a striped awning, a commercial-grade cooler, professionally printed signs, boxes of cups and napkins and supplies. Nina's mouth fell open. This is too much. It's what she deserves. You don't even know her." "I know she asked me the most honest question anyone's asked in 3 years." Grant's hands trembled slightly. He shoved them in his pockets. "Let me do this, please." The door burst open. Sky stood there in pajamas covered in stars, her eyes going wide as she took in the new stand. "Mama, is that for us?" Nina looked torn between pride and practicality. Grant could see the war happening behind her eyes, the need to provide for her daughter versus the fear of accepting help, of owing someone, especially someone like him. "Your mom and I are still discussing it," Grant said gently. Sky walked past both of them, down the steps to where the workers were setting up the stand. She ran her small hand along the smooth wood, touched the crisp awning fabric, peeked inside the cooler. Then she turned back to Grant with tears in her eyes. "No one's ever done something this nice for us," she whispered. Grant felt something crack in his chest. He knelt down, not caring about his $3,000 suit on the dusty sidewalk. "Then people haven't been paying attention," he said firmly. "Because you're worth being nice to, Sky." She launched herself at him, wrapping thin arms around his neck. Grant froze for a heartbeat. He hadn't been hugged in so long, hadn't let anyone close enough to try. Then his arms came up slowly, carefully, holding this small person who'd somehow seen straight through him. When Sky pulled back, she was smiling. "Will you come have lemonade later, when I open?" "Sky," Nina started. "I'd love to," Grant said. That's how it started. Grant came back that afternoon and bought the first cup from Sky's new stand. Then he came back the next day. And the day after that. It became part of his routine. Before heading to the office, he'd stop by, buy a cup of lemonade he didn't drink, and talk to Sky for 10 minutes. She told him about her drawings, about the books she read, about how she wanted to be an artist when she grew up. She asked him questions no one else dared to, why he worked so much, whether he had any friends, if he ever got lonely in his big house. I saw your picture in Mama's magazine, Sky said one morning. You live in a tower, a penthouse, yes, by yourself. Grant's stomach twisted. Yes, that sounds lonely. I'm busy. Sky tilted her head in that way she had. My mama's busy too, 3 jobs, but she says being busy isn't the same as being happy. Before Grant could respond, Nina came out with fresh lemons. She'd started acknowledging him with careful nods, though she kept her distance. He couldn't blame her. He'd seen the restraining order in the background check. Had every reason to be cautious. But this morning she paused. Thank you, Nina said quietly, for coming by. She looks forward to it. So do I, Grant admitted. Their eyes met. Nina's were deep brown, flecked with gold in the morning sun, exhausted but beautiful, even with the weight of the world on her shoulders. Something inside him cracked wider. Nina, a black sedan, pulled up across the street. Grant noticed it only because his security training from tours had taught him to notice everything. The windows were tinted. The engine stayed running. Nina noticed too. Her whole body went rigid. Sky, go inside, she said, her voice sharp. But Mama, now. The car door opened. A man stepped out, late 30s, muscular, with a cold smile that didn't reach his eyes. He wore an expensive suit that couldn't hide the prison-hard look about him. Derek Morrison. Nina, Derek called out. Don't I get a hello? It's been a long time. Nina positioned herself between Derek and the house. You're violating the restraining order. That expired, baby, you know it did. Derek's eyes slid to Grant. Who's this? You got a boyfriend already? Leave now. Derek took a step closer. Grant moved without thinking, placing himself beside Nina. The lady asked you to leave, Grant said calmly. Derek laughed. And who the hell are you? Someone who's going to call the police if you take another step. This is a public street. I got rights. Derek's smile turned cruel. I got rights to see my daughter too. 3 years I did because of her. He jerked his chin at Nina and her lies. Now I'm out and I'm taking back what's mine. Nina's hands were shaking. Grant could feel her fear like a living thing. Sky isn't yours, Nina said. You gave up all parental rights when I defended myself, when you pushed me and I pushed back. Derek's voice rose. I got a lawyer now, Nina, a real one, and he says I got grounds to file for custody. Says a judge might be real interested to know you're working 3 jobs, leaving our daughter alone all hours. I'm never alone, Sky's voice came from the porch. She stood there, small and defiant. Mama's always here when she's not working, and Mrs. Chen next door checks on me, and I'm fine. Derek's expression shifted into something possessive. Sky girl, look at you, all grown up. Don't talk to her, Nina said desperately. Grant pulled out his phone. Tours. I need you at. Derek moved fast, closing the distance. Grant stepped forward, blocking him, and suddenly Derek's hand was fisted in his suit jacket. You think your money scares me? Derek hissed. I know who you are, Grant Hayes, billion-dollar boy who couldn't even protect his own wife. What makes you think? Grant's fist connected with Derek's jaw before he could finish. Derek stumbled back, shocked. Blood trickled from his split lip. Over my dead body, Grant said quietly. Will you touch either of them? Derek smiled through the blood. That can be arranged. 3 things happened simultaneously. Torres and his security team screeched up in 2 black SUVs. Nina pulled Sky back into the house, and Derek got into his sedan and drove away slowly, deliberately, making sure they all saw his parting smile. Torres assessed the situation immediately. Mr. Hayes, are you injured? No, Grant's heart hammered. But I need protection on this house. 24/7, best team we have. Already on it. Nina emerged from the house, her face pale. I can't afford private security. You're not paying for it. I am, Mr. Hayes, Grant, and this isn't negotiable. He turned to her, his blood still running ice cold at how fast Derek had moved, how easily he could have hurt her. He threatened you, he threatened Sky. I'm not letting that happen. Why? Nina's voice broke. Why do you even care? You don't know us, we're nothing to you. You're not nothing. The words hung between them. Torres diplomatically moved away, giving orders to his team. Sky watched from the window, her old young eyes taking everything in. I don't understand, Nina whispered. Grant's hands were still shaking. 3 years ago, I stopped caring about anything, stopped feeling anything except the work. Then your daughter asked me why I was sad, and it was like, his throat burned. It was like waking up. I can't explain it better than that. Nina's eyes filled with tears. Derek meant what he said about custody. He has a lawyer. I've already gotten papers. Then you need a lawyer too. I can't afford, Nina. Grant waited until she looked at him. Let me help, please. No strings, no expectations, just let me do something good for once instead of just making money. She studied his face for a long moment. Grant felt exposed, like she could see every broken piece inside him. Okay, Nina finally said. Okay, stop everything. Grant Hayes just punched a man for threatening a woman and child he barely knows. Comment over my dead body if you're cheering for him right now. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button because this story is about to get even more intense, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Grant's lawyer, Marcus Webb, was in Nina's living room by that evening. The house was small but immaculate, worn furniture kept pristine, Sky's drawings taped to every wall, the smell of something homemade baking in the kitchen. Derek Morrison has no legal standing, Marcus said, reviewing the paperwork. He signed away his parental rights as part of his plea deal. This filing is frivolous. But he's still filing it, Nina said. She sat on the edge of the couch, her hands twisted together. That means court dates, legal fees, which I'm handling, Grant said from his position by the window. Torres had posted 2 guards outside. Marcus is the best family law attorney in the state. Marcus nodded. I'll file a motion to dismiss tomorrow. I'll also request a new restraining order based on today's threat. With Mr. Hayes' testimony and the security footage, we should have no problem getting it approved. Security footage? Nina asked. Grant pulled out his phone, showing her the video Torres had sent. The angle from the SUV's dashcam showed everything: Derek's approach, his threats, the moment he'd grabbed Grant. We document everything, Grant said quietly. It's how we stay safe. After Marcus left, Nina made Sky go upstairs to do homework. Then she turned to Grant, her arms crossed. I need to know what you want, she said bluntly. Grant blinked. I'm sorry. Men like you don't do things like this without wanting something. The stand, the lawyer, the security guards, what's the price? Her voice was steady, but he could see the fear underneath. Because if you think I'm going to, no. Grant's stomach dropped. God, no, Nina, I'm not, I would never. Then what do you want? He struggled for words. How could he explain that her daughter had cracked open something inside him he'd thought was dead? That for the first time in 3 years, he'd felt something other than emptiness. That he woke up this morning actually wanting to face the day because he knew he'd see Sky's smile. I want to help, he finally said. That's all. Nina laughed bitterly. Nobody helps for free. I do. Why? Because I can. Grant ran a hand through his hair. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. I have lawyers and security teams and influence. And for 3 years, I haven't used any of it for anything except making more money. Then I destroyed your daughter's lemonade stand, and she looked at me like, his voice cracked, like I was worth seeing, not my money, not my company, me. Nina's expression softened slightly. Sky has a gift for that, seeing people. She gets it from you. You don't know me well enough to say that. I know you work 3 jobs to give her a life. I know you've protected her from a man who terrifies you. I know you made her a lemonade stand by hand because you couldn't afford to buy one. Grant's chest ached. I know you're the strongest person I've ever met, and I'm in awe of you. Nina's breath caught. Silence stretched between them. I was a lawyer once, she said finally, quietly. Before Derek, I worked at a small firm, family law actually. I was going to make partner. She laughed without humor. Then I got pregnant and Derek said I should stay home, that he'd take care of us. And I believed him. By the time I realized what he really was, I was trapped. He broke my wrist when Sky was 2, told the ER I'd fallen. When I tried to leave, he said he'd kill me, kill her, kill himself. Said no one would believe me because he was so charming in public. Tears streamed down her face. It took me 4 years to get out, and even then he nearly killed me. That's how he went to prison. He put me in the hospital for 3 weeks. Grant's hands clenched into fists. I'm going to make sure he never touches you again. You can't promise that. Watch me, she met his eyes, searching for something. Why do I believe you? Because I mean it. Grant crossed to her slowly, giving her space to move away. She didn't. I couldn't protect Emma. I've lived with that guilt for 3 years, but I can protect you and Sky if you'll let me. Nina's hand came up, touching his face gently. You couldn't have saved your wife. That wasn't your fault. Something inside him snapped. The wall he'd built, the armor he'd worn, the numbness he'd wrapped around himself, all of it cracked and fell away. Grant's throat tightened, his vision blurred, and suddenly he was crying for the first time since Emma's funeral. Nina pulled him down, her arms around him, and let him break. Upstairs, Sky sat on the top step and smiled. The next 2 weeks were a blur. Marcus filed the motion to dismiss Derek's custody claim and requested the new restraining order. Grant hired 2 off-duty police officers to supplement Tor's security team. He set up a trust fund for Sky's education, $2 million that Nina didn't know about yet because Marcus said to wait until the custody issue was settled to avoid complications. Grant also did something he hadn't done in 3 years. He left work at 5 p.m. every evening. He showed up at Nina's house for dinner. She protested the first time, but Sky had already set a place for him, and Grant had brought groceries, the expensive kind Nina never bought because she was busy calculating every dollar. "You can't keep doing this," Nina said while Sky drew pictures at the kitchen table. "Doing what?" Grant chopped vegetables with surprising competence. "Buying us things, being here. You have a company to run. I have 12,000 employees and 6 vice presidents. They can handle it." "Grant, I'm happy, Nina." He stopped chopping, meeting her eyes. "For the first time in 3 years, I'm actually happy. Please don't ask me to give that up." She bit her lip. "This is crazy. We barely know each other." "Then let's get to know each other." "Mr. Grant," Sky looked up from her drawing, "do you know how to make paper cranes?" "I don't." "I can teach you." Sky grabbed his hand, pulling him to the table. For the next hour, Grant Hayes, CEO of a billion-dollar empire, featured in Forbes and Fortune and the Wall Street Journal, learned how to fold origami with an 8-year-old girl. Nina watched them, something warm and terrified blooming in her chest. The hearing for the restraining order came first. Derek showed up in a suit, clean-cut and smiling, playing the reformed ex-con. His lawyer argued that he'd simply been trying to reconnect with his daughter, that Grant Hayes had assaulted him unprovoked. Then Marcus played the video footage. Derek's face as he threatened Nina, grabbed Grant, made his parting threat, all of it on crystal-clear video. The judge took less than 5 minutes to grant the restraining order. 500 feet, 3 years, any violation meant immediate arrest. Derek's cold smile returned as he left the courtroom. "This isn't over," he mouthed at Nina. Grant positioned himself between them. "Yes, it is." But 2 days later, Lisa Chen walked into Grant's office with her hands shaking. "I need to tell you something," she said. Grant looked up from his laptop. "What's wrong?" "Derek Morrison approached me 3 days ago." Lisa's voice trembled. "He offered me $50,000 for information about you, your schedule, where you go, who you see." Grant's blood went cold. "Lisa," I said no, obviously, but then he said he'd tell the press about my brother." Tears filled her eyes. "About the insider trading case from 2 years ago. You made it go away, gave Tommy a second chance. If that came out, it would destroy him. It would destroy you for covering it up. So you gave Derek information, just your schedule, just," Lisa sobbed. "He knows you go to Nina's house every night. He knows about the custody case. He's planning something, Grant. He has people watching. I'm so sorry. I never wanted. My brother has a family and I couldn't get out." "Grant, please, get out of my office. You're fired. If you're in this building in 10 minutes, I'm calling security." Lisa fled. Grant grabbed his phone, dialing Tor's. "We have a leak. Derek knows everything. I need you to." "Mr. Hayes." Tor's voice was tight. "We have a situation. I'm at Sky's school. She's missing." The world stopped. "What do you mean missing?" "She was in the cafeteria 15 minutes ago. When her teacher did headcount for recess, she was gone. The guards didn't see anyone enter or leave. It's like she vanished." Grant was already running for the elevator. "Lock down the school. No one in or out. I'm calling the police." "Already done." The 20-minute drive to Sky's elementary school took 10. Grant's hands gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went white. His heart hammered. His mind raced through every horrible possibility. Nina was already there, held back by security from tearing the building apart herself. When she saw Grant, she ran to him. "They took her. He took her. Derek took my baby. We're going to find her." Grant held her shoulders. "Nina, look at me. We're going to find her. I promise." Tor's appeared. "Surveillance shows a maintenance worker entering through the east side entrance 43 minutes ago. Removed a large equipment bag 12 minutes later. Weight distribution suggests a child inside." Grant finished, his stomach dropping. "The van was a rental. We're tracing it now, but Derek's smart enough to ditch it fast." Grant's mind worked through scenarios. "He needs leverage. He'll contact us with demands." As if on cue, Nina's phone buzzed. The text was from an unknown number. "You took 3 years of my life. Now I take what's mine. Come alone to the address I send, or you never see Sky again. No cops, no billionaire boyfriend, just you." Nina's hands shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. Grant took it, reading the message, rage flooding through him. "You're not going alone," he said. "He has my daughter, and he'll kill you both the second you show up. This isn't negotiation, Nina. He wants revenge." Grant turned to Tors. "Can you trace this?" "Already working on it." Grant made a decision. He pulled out his own phone, dialing a number he hadn't called in months. "Jonathan, it's Grant Hayes. I need a favor. A big one." Jonathan Cruz was the FBI's Seattle field director and owed Grant several favors after Hayes Technologies had helped them crack a cybercrime ring last year. Within 20 minutes, the school was swarming with federal agents. The second text came with an address, an abandoned warehouse near the docks. "It's a trap," Tors said. "Obviously." Grant was already putting in earbuds for the tactical communication system, "which is why we're springing it." Agent Cruz laid out the plan. Nina would go in wired, surrounded by agents in cover positions. Grant would remain in the mobile command center. "Absolutely not," Grant said. "Mr. Hayes, you're a civilian." "That's my—" Grant stopped. His what? He'd known them for 2 weeks. But his chest was tight, his hands were shaking, and the thought of Sky scared and alone made him want to burn the entire world down. "I'm going in." Nina grabbed his hand. "Grant, no." She asked me if I was lonely, if I had fun, if I was sad. His voice broke. "That little girl saw me, really saw me, and she decided I was worth caring about. I'm not letting her down." Cruz sighed. "Against my better judgment, you can go in with the first team, but you follow orders, understand?" Grant nodded. The warehouse was dark, empty, echoing. Nina walked in through the main entrance, her voice steady despite her terror. "Derek, I'm here, I'm alone." Movement in the shadows. Derek emerged, and he had Sky gripped by the arm. She was crying silently, her dress torn. "Let her go," Nina said. "This is between us. Finally, something we agree on." Derek shoved Sky forward. She stumbled, falling to her knees. "Come here, Nina. Let's finish what we started 3 years ago." Nina walked forward. Grant watched from his position behind a stack of crates, every muscle tensed. Tors was across the warehouse, 2 FBI agents flanking the exits. The moment Nina was within reach, Derek grabbed her, pulling out a knife. "Did you really think I'd let you go?" he hissed. "You ruined my life. 3 years in prison, 3 years of hell, and you moved on, found some rich bastard to take care of you." "He's not," Nina gasped as the knife pressed against her throat. "Shut up, I'm talking." Sky screamed. "Leave my mama alone." "You shut up too," Derek snarled. Grant moved. He came out of the shadows fast, training from years of self-defense classes Emma had insisted he take, finally paying off. He tackled Derek from the side, sending them both crashing to the concrete. The knife skittered away. Nina grabbed Sky, pulling her daughter behind her. Derek was strong, prison strong, and fueled by rage. He got on top of Grant, fists swinging. Grant felt his lips split, tasted blood. Then he remembered every reason he was fighting. Sky's smile, Nina's laugh, the feeling of being alive again. He bucked Derek off, rolled, came up swinging. Tors and the FBI agents swarmed in, pulling Derek down, cuffing him. He fought and screamed and cursed, but it was over. Grant collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. Nina was there immediately, Sky in her arms. "You idiot," Nina sobbed. "You beautiful, stupid idiot." "Is she okay?" Grant touched Sky's face gently. She was crying but nodded. "You came for me," Sky whispered. "Always," Grant said. "I'll always come for you." Sky threw her arms around his neck. Nina wrapped around both of them. And in that dark warehouse with federal agents swarming and Derek being dragged away screaming threats, Grant Hayes felt complete for the first time since Emma died. That's when everything changed. Derek Morrison was charged with kidnapping, assault, violating a restraining order, and attempted murder. His lawyer tried to make a deal, but Agent Cruz had everything on video and audio. Derek went away for 22 years, no possibility of parole for the first 15. The custody case dissolved immediately. Grant's board called an emergency meeting. He walked into the conference room 2 days after the warehouse, his face still bruised, his lip healing. The 12 members of Hayes Technologies' board of directors sat in judgment. Richard Vanderberg, the most senior member, spoke first. "Grant, we're concerned. This incident with the Morrison case, you put yourself in danger, the company at risk." "I saved a child's life," Grant said calmly. You're the CEO of a billion-dollar company. You can't go running into warehouses like some action hero. Then you should vote me out. Silence. Is that what you want? Richard asked carefully. I want to build a life that matters. Grant stood, pacing to the windows overlooking Seattle. For 3 years, I've made you all very wealthy. I've grown this company, broken records, exceeded every projection, and I was dead inside the entire time. He turned to face them. I met a woman and her daughter. They had nothing, but they were alive in a way I'd forgotten how to be. And when that child was in danger, I didn't think about stock prices or quarterly reports or my responsibility to this company. I thought about saving her, because she matters more than all of this. Grant, someone started. I'm not resigning. But I am restructuring my priorities. I'll still run this company, still make you wealthy, but I'm also going to have a life. I'm going to leave at 5 p.m. I'm going to take weekends. I'm going to be present for the people I care about. His voice hardened. Anyone who has a problem with that can vote me out right now. No one moved. Finally, Richard smiled. I think Emma would be proud of you. Grant's throat tightened. I think so too. The vote was unanimous, full support. 1 month later, Grant invited Nina and Sky to his penthouse for the first time. Sky pressed her face against the floor-to-ceiling windows, gasping at the view of Elliott Bay. Mama, look, you can see the whole world. Nina smiled, but Grant could see the nervousness in her eyes. The penthouse was the size of her entire house times 10, all sleek surfaces and expensive art, and the kind of wealth that created distance. I want to show you something, Grant said, taking her hand. He led them down the hall to a room that had been locked for 3 years. Emma's studio, where she'd painted and dreamed. Grant hadn't been able to open it after she died. But now the door stood open. Inside, the space had been transformed. The canvases were gone, stored carefully in climate-controlled storage. In their place was a child's paradise, an art station with every supply imaginable, bookshelves full of stories, a reading nook with pillows and soft lights, a desk for homework. Sky walked in slowly, touching everything with wonder. Is this for me? She whispered. If you want it. Grant knelt down. Sky, I need to ask you something important. Is it okay if I love your mom? Sky's eyes went wide. Then she smiled that knowing, ancient smile. You already do, Mr. Grant. You're right, I do. He looked up at Nina, who had tears streaming down her face. But I want to do this right. I want you both in my life if you'll have me. Not because I have money or because I can protect you, because you make me want to be alive again. Nina's hand covered her mouth. Grant stood, pulling a small box from his pocket. I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other for 6 weeks, but I also know that Emma used to say life's too short to waste time being afraid. He opened the box, revealing a simple ring, elegant but not flashy, a single diamond on a platinum band. Nina Morrison, will you marry me? Yes, Nina sobbed. Yes, yes, yes. He slid the ring on her finger and pulled her close, kissing her while Sky cheered and jumped and danced around them. Group hug, Sky demanded. They collapsed together, the three of them laughing and crying. 6 months later, Grant stood at the altar of a small church overlooking Puget Sound. Nina walked down the aisle in a simple white dress, her smile radiant. Sky was the flower girl, throwing petals with serious concentration. Torres was Grant's best man, having evolved from security chief to trusted friend. The ceremony was small Nina's sister, a handful of Grant's employees who'd become real friends once he started actually living life. Sky's teacher, Mrs. Chen from next door. No board members, no business associates, just people who mattered. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Grant pulled Nina close and whispered, "Thank you for saving me." "Thank you for showing up," she whispered back. They kissed while everyone cheered. At the reception, Sky pulled Grant aside. She handed him a paper crane, carefully folded. "I made this the day you broke my lemonade stand," she said. "I was going to throw it away because I was sad, but then you came and asked about it, and Mama said I should save it. She said maybe broken things could be fixed." Grant's vision blurred. "You fixed me, Sky, you and your mom." "No," Sky shook her head, wise beyond her years. "You were never broken, Mr. Grant. Just lonely, and you don't have to be lonely anymore." She was right. 3 months after the wedding, Grant and Nina stood at the same street corner where their story began. Sky's lemonade stand was busier than ever. Turns out having Seattle's most famous billionaire as your stepfather was good for business. But Grant didn't advertise it. He just showed up every Saturday morning, bought a cup of lemonade, and spent time with his family. The press had tried to make a circus of their relationship at first. Billionaire's Cinderella romance, the headlines screamed, but Grant had shut it down fast. He'd given one interview, said simply, "I met a woman and her daughter who reminded me how to be human. That's the only story that matters." And he meant it. Hayes Technologies was thriving. Grant had launched a new division focused on educational technology, funded personally to the tune of $200 million. Sky had helped design the logo, a paper crane in flight. Nina had gone back to school part-time, working toward finishing her law degree. Grant supported her completely, taking over bedtime stories and homework help on the nights she had classes. Derek Morrison was in prison. He'd sent one letter, which Grant had intercepted and burned without Nina ever seeing it. Whatever threats or manipulations it contained didn't matter. That chapter was closed. "Mama, Mr. Grant, look." Sky pointed at the cup she'd just filled. 50 cents, that's the most anyone's ever tipped. Nina laughed. "Baby, Grant gives you $50 bills as tips. That's different, he's family." Sky grinned. "This is a real customer." Grant exchanged a look with Nina, both of them trying not to laugh. A young girl approached the stand, maybe 6 years old, holding her mother's hand nervously. "How much?" the mother asked. 50 cents, Sky said proudly. "But if you don't have it, that's okay." "You can have it free." "Sky," Nina started. "Mama, you said we help people who need help. She looks like she needs lemonade." The mother's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, we can pay, I know." Sky handed her daughter the cup with a smile. "But sometimes nice things should be free." The woman paid anyway, dropping $1 in the jar. As they walked away, Grant heard her tell her daughter, "See, there are still good people in the world." Sky turned to Grant. "Do you think we're good people?" "I think you're the best person I know," Grant said honestly. "Even better than Mama. It's a tie." Nina swatted his arm playfully. They stood there in the morning sun, watching Sky serve her lemonade, and Grant realized something. He couldn't remember the last time he'd thought about what he'd lost. All he could see was what he'd found. That night after Sky was asleep and Nina was curled against him on the couch, Grant's phone buzzed. A news alert. Hayes Technologies stock reaches all-time high. CEO credits work-life balance. Nina read over his shoulder. "You're making headlines for leaving work at 5 p.m. Apparently revolutionary business practice," Grant said dryly. She laughed. "You know, Sky told her class that her dad is a billionaire who makes paper cranes." "I am. That's what you want to be known for." Grant pulled her closer. "That and the fact that I married the most incredible woman in the world." "Smooth. I mean it." He kissed her forehead. 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. Then I destroyed a lemonade stand. Best accident you ever had. Best thing that ever happened to me. Because some stories don't start with happy beginnings. Some start with loss and pain and a man who'd forgotten how to feel. But then, a little girl with braids and beads asks why you're sad, and everything changes. Love doesn't always look like fairy tales. Sometimes it looks like a lemonade stand and a single mother working 3 jobs and a CEO learning to fold paper cranes. Sometimes broken things don't need to be fixed. They just need to find the people who love them anyway. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share. Sometimes the smallest moments lead to the biggest changes, and sometimes the people we least expect become the family we need most. Until our next story, keep believing in happy endings and in the power of kindness to change everything.